You know
we
you're
want
on
to
my
talk.
good side. I should have been on this side.
No. We can switch. We can definitely switch. Hello, you guys. This is Lamont Styles from Rugged Genius. I'm here with Tirzah Idahosa, one of the candidates that's running for state senate here in Washington State. We're here to interview her and pick her brain on what brought her here, and maybe we can learn about the political process and the process, and we can get behind her campaign and support what she has going on. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thank you for the invitation. I really appreciate being here. I'm really grateful for the opportunity to have an opportunity to speak some more to the people. Thank you.
Absolutely. So, to just jump right in, we just want to thank you as well for giving us the opportunity to have an insight into the political process. We feel like this is a very important process that we need to get into on the local level as well as the national level. Everybody votes for the president. Everybody, it's a lot of advertisements that goes with that. But when it comes to the in-between elections, we don't get it as involved, and we feel like this is a very important part of the process.
You're absolutely right. A lot of people don't only show up when it's time for the president to come, like, I voted for the president. But you need to make sure that you vote for your local people, because what happens, like me running for state senate here, I will speak for and be voted for by the people of the 30th district. Federal Way, Angona, Pacific, Des Moines, Milton, parts of unincorporated King County, and parts of unincorporated Pierce County as well. Okay. So those people will be voting for me, and they put me in office. But once I'm there, then I do speak for the state. But first and foremost, for this area. And the local level, we speak for people in our area and the state. And then the congressmen, they speak for us nationally in Washington, D.C.
Good to know.
And the primary is August the 7th. So if you're waiting until November to vote for us, we may not make it to November if you don't vote for us in August in the primary.
Absolutely. So first of all, where are you from originally?
Born and raised in New Orleans.
Okay, New Orleans, the Bayou.
Born and raised, yes.
Okay.
But my dad was in the service, so I pretty much grew up all over the world.
What part?
I've been to Germany. I've lived in Germany. I've lived in China. I've lived in several parts around the U.S. I'm just kind of a traveler.
What branch was he in?
Army.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long have you been in Washington then?
I raised my family in Washington. I moved to Washington State in 1990.
Okay.
And I raised my family here.
Nice.
I left for a short period of time around 2011. My mother, who will be 86 years old, God bless, April the 1st. She was sick. I took some time out to go take care of her, and I just returned. Been back about 2 years now.
Nice. So do you have any academic accomplishments at all?
My academic accomplishments. I finished high school, and then I've always taken courses for what I thought was important to me. I'm an entrepreneur by trade, so I've always taken care of, if I wanted to know something, I went and got some knowledge on it. So I did study at college. I studied business administration, and I studied health and human services.
Right.
I studied travel industry management, and then as vocational stuff, was a licensed beautician. I own and operated my own beauty shop. I'm just saying. See, I believe that, they would tell me getting out of school, I always talk to seniors, and the ladies would tell me, make sure you have something that you can do anywhere you want to live.
Absolutely.
You can always make money. So they talked me into doing hair. So I did hair. And then my last career opportunity was I'm also a paralegal. Yeah.
That's interesting, because that's a whole nother conversation, right? Because in a time where people are getting degrees, can't find jobs, major school debt, and things of that nature, I find myself telling my son, like, go to community college or get a trade. I'm a barber, so I'm like, learn how to cut hair. The school is gonna be there, but I don't think I used anything like after the 7th grade. You know, as far as the education, I don't think that I used anything after the 7th grade. And I say that because I volunteered in the 7th grade math class, and I was like, oh, this is relevant. And then after that, I was like, yeah, you're not gonna use none of that. So
That's funny because we lose most of our children in middle school. Between the 7th and 9th grade, most of our kids drop out.
Wow.
Because a lot of them don't feel like we're feeding them or giving them what they need. But one of the platforms that I'm running on is education. And I'm a firm believer, by example, of course, that we need to start bringing back the trades. We need to bring back vocational schools. We need to bring back apprenticeships. We need to bring back entrepreneurship. We need to bring back job shadowings. And I mean from the 6th grade through high school. And as we go on, we can even go further down. But at least from middle school to high school, I believe we should have those programs in place, because when you have those programs, it's been proven that the people that go through those type of programs, first of all, you're getting hands-on knowledge. Everybody is not going to go to college. Everybody's not going to be, can just look at something and put it together. Some people have to touch it and feel it.
Right.
And so you'll get professional mentoring through those programs. You'll get a certificate, credentials that you can use nationally, so you can move, you can do all kinds of things. And the Department of Licensing said people that go through those programs, that 87% of people that go through those types of programs, trade schools, apprenticeships, vocational schools, that they are employed automatically, making more than $50,000 a year, starting. That's better than a $15 an hour livable wage. I haven't worked for $15 an hour since I was in high school, and I couldn't make it then. I'm really not understanding how we expect people with children to make it on $15 an hour.
Well, just think about this though, right? What are you worth? Why do we tell somebody what we're worth for hourly? If you think about your life, and I only have so much time on this earth, you're telling me that an hour worth of why the Most High put me here is worth $15.
That's the reason why I say if you allow people to get trades, to get a skill, to get a career, and the reason why I said that, I did it for my own daughter, so I know it works. I'm not saying I've raised over 50 plus children in foster care, so I'm a real mom, and so when I'm a mom, not just my birth child, but everybody else, and so. My own daughter, when she finished high school, I sent her right over to SVI, and they're closing it down now. But my daughter went to SVI. She got her training in in the medical field. When President Obama was here, people were trying to recruit her in high school. So, I mean, my daughter, she has skills. So I don't know if she's ever worked for a $15 an hour job. And she went straight into a career, because working for UW is a state job. So you got a career, you got benefits, you can move, you can, you got something you could take with you. And if you want to take some more classes, they'll pay for them.
Yep. Once you get in,
I'm a firm believer that we have to start making sure our young people are self-sufficient when they leave high school. You guys hosted the youth forum.
Yes.
I was at the youth forum. I was really proud of those young people.
I love
proud and sad at the same time. But they spoke truth. But if we bring them to the table, I'm running against 2 educators. Both of them are educators, and they speak highly of the education. And I'm a fan of education, but I also feel you have to do some other stuff in there. The young people sat at the forum that you guys had, and they said plainly, "I'm graduating," and this was 2 weeks before their graduation. The kids were from Franklin, from Decatur, and several schools around Federal Way area. And most have been in the school their entire lives. And they said that, "I'm graduating high school, I can't read, I can't count, and I don't know what I'm gonna do when I get out of high school. Nobody told me what to do." And that was, that really hurts my heart, but that's, like I said, that's why I'm running. Why would they be saying this when they're, if our school's if you look at it on paper, our schools looks really, really good, but the reality, it's not so. And those that do go on to college, the majority of those young people are not working in their field 5 years after they get out of college, and they have all the student debt, and they are one of those same people that are going to go back to making a $15 an hour. It's inexcusable to me. We have to change.
And I think thinking outside of the box, like you said, you were a parent that taught your daughter how to look at education. I feel you said something that I feel is very important because we tailor it to what we want and what we need. They've told us so long that you have to do it like this. It has to be in this cookie cutter type of situation. You go to college, you get a job, you work for 40 years, retire. This is not like our parents were. And nowadays, you got companies that are laying people off on Christmas Eve. And the youth are looking and they're like, well, man, why do I want to be in this type of situation? I know for us, as a youngster, we wanted to be entrepreneurs. We just didn't know it. I got a cousin that's doing life plus 10 in jail, and he was an entrepreneur. And we talk all the time, and I'm like, bro, we were entrepreneurs, bro. Now that I know what I know now, all we needed was to know how to write a business plan, to know how to turn what we saw as an opportunity into a business. It was a hustle. We had our hustle game down, but we didn't know how to take it from a hustle to a business.
That's why we need to have mentorships. That's why I say job shadowing. Because even without a business plan, if you're watching somebody and you see what they do and you understand, here, and here, these are the steps to get to where you want to go, then you're more than likely to be successful in that business and keep it going. But even just with the skills we have innately, we know to start the business, we know to run it, we know what we want to do, but we may not be able to get to the bank or get somebody else to help us because we can't put it on paper. But if we have those mentorships and people that will walk with us and show us, it can be done. I was part of putting a lot of those businesses together back in the Central area when we first had affirmative action in the state of Washington, and they were getting big contracts. We were opening up small businesses, and business was booming. And then we had, I-200 came and we lost all the businesses here. So we're in the process of, that's how I wind up getting into politics right now, to get those businesses back. But we had our own restaurants, we had our own gas stations, we had contractors were making good money. It was really, really well. Yeah, you could support your family.
Was booming for our community. You mentioned affirmative action. I know about affirmative action. I heard it a lot growing up. There's been a lot of controversy up and down. I think I remember when they took it away. So they reversed
1998.
it. Right. So they reversed it. So can you kind of like go into like what that meant for when it was here and when they took it away? Because to my knowledge, like when it was here so I think what they were trying to say was other people were taking advantage of it. So if you say minority, then that means a Caucasian female. You see what I'm saying? Is that under the affirmative action?
Well, I know a lot of people took advantage of it because when it was written, it was for to give women an opportunity.
Right.
And the way it was written, so women became a minority. Right. And so you did have a lot of Caucasian or white men.
So it went from like the African Americans that was here that they were saying that we weren't getting jobs to maybe a Caucasian woman. Right,
but it wasn't necessarily just for African Americans. It's always been for everybody. It's been for people with disabilities, veterans, but it was only for veterans of foreign war. It wasn't for all veterans. It was only for veterans of foreign war. It was for people with disabilities. It was from people from other countries.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
LGBTQ. It was for everybody. But the way that they were using it, it wasn't working for everybody. Because like you said, in a lot of the contracting, what happened was women became a double minority because they were women and if they were a minority.
Yeah.
But a lot of white men got their wives to be business owners with them. The the wife would own 51% of the business and he would own 49.
Exactly
so she got all the benefits and stuff that went along with her being a woman business owner.
Right. Is there a way so with that being the case, why would people want to have it back if it was...
Well, a lot of people really don't understand what it really did. Like I said, we were putting all those contracts and businesses together in back in the 90s when they had affirmative action. Business was booming. People were making more than $15 an hour. They were livable. They were buying houses. Most of the people that lived in the central area owned their properties. Yeah. They owned their properties. They were making really good money. They had a lot of state and federal contracts. I mean, I know people that were making real good money the way they want to, can leave legacies for their children.
Absolutely.
And that's what everybody wants to do. But just an example, we set up a hearing in Olympia. And with that hearing, we invited the Office of minority women and business owners.
Okay.
And when they came to the table, they said that because when we had affirmative action, they were doing well. When it left, over the last 20 years, they have lost over $3.8 billion that did not go to women and minority business owners.
Wow.
Just women and minority business owners.
Yeah.
We're not talking about, the Port of Seattle or the federal, the
So you get
military.
money for...
Well, it's divvied up to certain
affirmative
people because affirmative action made sure that everybody got some of the pie.
So then what that would open up money for lending for like small businesses or
Yes, to
something?
start
Is that
your
what that
business,
was?
to get
Okay.
a contract from the government, the way that they were able to do it. And
okay.
now, and if you went to the University of Washington back in the day, it was just a sea of color.
Right.
It's not that way anymore,
No, it's
even
not.
with the staff. And
it's
the University of Washington also came to that same hearing, and they said that their hands were tied of how they are unable to recruit people of color.
Because of
that,
affirmative action
yes.
system.
So, but restoring affirmative action, what it actually does is a lot of people thought it was quotas and, somebody's taking my job. That's not the case.
Okay.
What affirmative action does is that if everything is equal and and you come for a job, the job already has 5 white people or 5 native people or 5 whatever. They've already got those people in place. They're working. You come and 2 other people come. All of you are qualified for the job. If they've got 5 people over there of this type of person, they have to give to somebody else to increase their diversity. So that's what that is. But everybody's equal. It's not like they're going to take you and you're not qualified just because you happen to be a disabled person or an LGBTQ person. They're not going to take you just if you're not qualified. You have to be qualified for the job. So it gives everybody a fair opportunity. But what we did with this particular one now, I'm also a co-sponsor and the only one that's that's running for a seat or candidacy here in the 30th district. I'm the only co-sponsor of the initiative 1644, which will bring affirmative action back to the state of Washington. What we did in that particular initiative is also, like I said, before we had for veterans, it was only for those that had been to foreign war.
Okay.
This one here makes it for any honorable discharged veteran. They also have the right to now get that benefit.
Okay. So, I don't want to harp on it because that's a whole. Because I think the affirmative action conversation is. I'm probably not the only one that kind of doesn't understand.
We tried to
it.
put the language in there to make it real clear because a lot of people, thought it meant quotas and things like that. But the language in it is very clear, so they understand that that's not what it is at all. It's everybody being equal. They have a right to get to go for the job.
So then my question would be, would that be the same way? Because I almost am at the point where it's like, okay, well, if you wasn't planning on hiring me anyway, I don't want you to have to be forced to hire me and then feel a certain way because I'm there. And then the job environment isn't what it should be. Does that work for entrepreneurship as well? Because can I get some money for my business? Like
That's the contracting and stuff like that. That's what business owners do.
So that's what you're referring to. Okay. So like
those are business owners.
If I'm a contractor and like you said, if you had, gave them these contracts to like 5 different people, the next time you got to give the contract to,
Right.
I see.
So everybody's
that makes
fair
sense.
and equal.
That makes sense. So let's just, go back and just ask why you chose to run for state senate.
That's a good question. I didn't.
Okay.
What happened was, like I said, I had been out of state and I came back and I was literally shocked about what I saw when I came back in the state of Washington, what had happened. And so I took it and was lobbying with some other people to bring affirmative action back to the state of Washington. And while I was in Olympia lobbying there, I started seeing a whole lot of stuff that caused me to be concerned. And we brought about 20 people to have a meeting with the governor's office. And with those 20 people, we had community leaders, we had pastors, we had different organizations, we had almost every nationality was represented there with their groups and organizations. And out of those 20 plus people there, we represented over 1 million people that were, that had problems and wanted diversity back. So we had those meetings and I saw what was going on. And so we were talking and everybody was saying, we need somebody to run. We need somebody in office. We need somebody to do this. And I can't do it because I have a job. I can't do it. I got small children. Everybody was like, if I could, if it would be, So it came down, they were like, can you do it?
Right, right.
And I thought about it and searched myself and got to looking around. And when I finished looking around, I realized I was born for this. I've been doing it all my life.
Wow.
When my friends were working at McDonald's
Purpose.
from high school,
Yeah.
I was working with Special Olympics. So I've always advocated for somebody. And growing up on military base, we were always diverse and inclusive. So I had kids in my middle school that were on crutches or in a wheelchair, because military bases are inclusive like that.
The crazy thing of that, when you say that, I'm a military brat as well. My dad was in the Air Force, so we were in the Philippines. I was in the Philippines for 4 years. And I remember my guy Robert that used to sit next to me. He was cool as ever. He had the soft helmet. He had a walker. And I just remember when he used to eat lunch, he used to have the soft spoon and stuff. But I used to sit next to him in class, and the crazy thing of it was he was cool. He was
regular
chill.
guy.
So as when you get back to the States and you get into all this racism, because like you said, when you go overseas, you're in the military, so you're not doing they're not really on that white, black, or whatever. And I just was like, man, that experience changed my whole life just to be next to him in a class. And it was like you said, nobody even looked at him differently. We all ran recess, and sometimes I would go play with my friends, sometimes I would chill with him, and he was mega cool. And I just was like, man, so to go by what you were saying, it's crazy how our society just separates you, the bad kids over so hopefully this is why we do what we do. This is what I say. This is why we do what we do. We need to change the culture, man.
We have to, and be inclusive, and not just say it on paper or when you write, and be good to say I'm diverse and inclusive. No, just because somebody's handicapped or has a disability doesn't mean they have nothing to offer. They have a lot to offer if we would ask them and invite them to the table. They have a lot to offer. I was saying even working with housing and stuff like that. Every senior citizen doesn't want to be in a high-rise apartment complex. They've been in their own home. They're used to doing for stuff. They can contribute. In any other culture, you get one gray hair, you are king and queen of everything.
What?
They
What
honor
gray
you.
hair?
Honor you.
That
I'm
means
telling
I
you,
am King
one gray
Joppy.
hair. People that don't even know you, what can I do for you? They're honestly, because they know that you've served, you've given.
Yes,
America's
yes,
one
yes.
place that don't care nothing about their seniors, and it's very, very
I
sad.
agree.
They push them aside,
I
even
agree.
with people that are special needs and disabled people. They don't always want to live on the first floor of the apartment building either. So we have to talk when we're talking about doing housing, and we need to bring them to the table and ask them. I work with people that are special needs, and just because they grow up in a group home, once they become a certain age and can do for themselves, they work like everybody else. They don't want to live in those group homes. They want to have independent living. And we need to bring them to the table and have more conversations about how we can make things safe and affordable for them. But they have a right to be at the table and have what they want as well. They contribute if you allow them to.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with that. So what are some of your goals when you're elected?
Education is very near and dear to me, and I'm a firm believer that if we start that, I don't know if I tell you I've raised over 50 plus children in foster care, and I'm a former correction officer.
Okay.
So I learned that majority of people in adult prisons came out of foster care, or they were not raised by their mother and father. So.
Wow.
And it is big business to go. You heard the prison to school to prison pipeline. It's not a joke. It's real.
Yeah.
And in order to break that, I think the only way you can break that is through education. That's why I'm, again, back to the trades and
I agree.
the apprenticeship programs and like that, so people can feed themselves, and then they can raise their families and keep their families together. I think then you'll see society changing. Even when you're looking at our mental health and stuff like that, a lot of that is affected because the family is broken up or what they see in the family. I do a lot of transitional housing and people in transition, and you always hear people say, well, they're just drug addicts and they're alcoholics. That is a symptom of being homeless.
Man,
Nobody
for real.
woke up and said, I'm gonna be a drug addict, I'm gonna be a junkie. I don't want to,
underlying.
there is, and one of the big things that people don't talk about in Washington State is that a lot of that stuff we created. I know being in foster care, working with majority of the kids that I did, all of them were on some kind of medicine. Majority of them were, and they're on psychotropic drugs. You can't give a child psychotropic drugs for years and years and years. And then at 18, push them out of the system with no support whatsoever, and then expect them not to be already addicted to drugs. The same thing when they, with all the opiates, they're saying everybody, come down the federal way, all the opiates and all of that kind of stuff. there were pain clinics here. And because I take care of people, I was watching these pain clinic people over-medicating people, our seniors and, people that were going for pain medicine. Everybody that needs pain medicine is not there because they want to be a junkie. They're there because they have real pain, but they were over-medicating them. And then when they closed those pain clinics, they would not take the patients. So those patients were just cut off. So then they did go to other things because they'd overdosed. So we have to be accountable and hold our doctors accountable, hold our lawmakers accountable. We can't just keep saying everything is about the people that got in that situation. They didn't put themselves in those situations. Somebody needed to be accountable.
That, because I'm a barber, right? So there is the professional side of what I do, and then there's the street side of what I do. And I say the street side is because everybody comes to get their hair cut.
You're a therapist. Call it what it is.
Man.
You're a therapist.
And I take the relationships that I have with my customers very serious. And what you just said, coming from somebody who, I have a felony, I didn't do the greatest in school. I was like Fredo from The Godfather. I was looked over, and we saw this coming a mile away. I know people that was getting over medicated. I know people that was going and getting, and we talked about this. We talked about the pharmaceutical companies pressuring the doctors to put people on this medication, and then what they do. So it's crazy that you broke it down from that standpoint, and then on the street level, I can see exactly what you're talking about. Just like I can see the gentrification coming from Seattle, going from Tacoma over to the east side. You can see it over years. I became a barber in 2000. The gentrifying, it might have started before then, but I remember when they moved the homeless shelter from downtown to 38th Street. I remember when they stopped selling malt liquor and beer over a certain alcohol level only in that area. And I was like,
certain
why
stores,
only in this area?
Neighborhoods,
that doesn't make
neighborhoods,
sense.
You're right.
And then once you start seeing it, is what you said, man, these guys are playing a game. This is a plan. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you allow doctors to over-medicate and nobody be held responsible? I go back to my childhood. At 17 years old, I saw my cousin with a military-issue Mac 11 with a silencer. And I said, cousin, where did you get this from? And he said, I don't know. Some Caucasian dude came selling guns. And I said, bro, who sells guns to 17-year-old kids?
Oh, wow.
Who does that? Where did this man come from? We don't make the drugs. We don't. So when you talk about the political side of it, this is the side that we need to be talking about. Because where do the police come from? We need to be holding, like you said, these pharmaceutical companies, these doctors accountable, and you do it through legislation.
And it's big business, so we have to really, really take care of that thing. People don't want to talk about, they just closed Western State or in the next 30 days.
I didn't even want to get on that. You said mental health. I feel so bad looking at people walk the streets knowing that they need help, and I'm like, well, what do you do? A friend of mine worked at Western State. He said, Lamont, they are letting people go because they don't have the money to keep them, not because they are cured or they're able to walk the streets.
Somebody had the money. They had how many thousands? I don't like to misquote, but I think it was something like 53, I don't know, but there was a lot of money.
Crazy.
And it's been going on for years that the federal government, everybody said, get Western State together, get Western State together. Western State is business like anybody else. We have St. Francis Hospital here, we have Virginia Mason. Those hospitals just can't do whatever they want to do, and nobody is accountable for it. So why do we allow for so many years? So many years. We're talking, it's been a long time. They've been talking about, the federal government gave them an opportunity, came in and said, you guys need to fix some stuff. And the main issues, I think, were Safety was one of the issues.
Yeah, because the one guy escaped.
They had several escapes. But I mean, it's not funny. But
not at all, but yeah.
safety was one of the issues, and so if they couldn't fix their safety and keep the people, safe in there, residents as well as staff, but the issues they weren't like big issues. They should have been able to handle, and they didn't handle it, and they had more than enough time. I'm talking years to handle that, and they didn't. So my question is, what are they going to do? They only had 800 beds. What are they going to do with those people? Because University of Washington is not accepted. They've closed their section down, so they are not taking any of those people. Where are those people going to go now? I mean, it's just real. Where are they going to go now?
I can't even fathom.
And who's accountable for that?
What do you think is wrong with the system and our community from what you see, just coming in and just like an overview, like just, without breaking everything down, what do you see as far as your position and what you can do?
I think Federal Way has, out of all the cities, we have this area, the 30th district, we have one of the greatest. I'm just real. Unless you want to go to Seattle or to visit, you don't really have to go out of Federal Way for anything.
I've been living here
you really
for
don't.
15 plus
you
years,
don't.
And that is
you
what
can go to Auburn, to the Super Mall. I mean, the 30th district,
I don't even go there.
We are one of the best. But even that's not going to Seattle. You're still in the 30th, is what I'm saying. You're still in the 30th. You don't have to go out of here for anything. But I do think we need to be a little bit more diverse.
Yeah.
We've got great communities here.
Well, we're diverse. We just need more on the leadership, I think, level. Because Federal Way is 130 plus languages being spoken in the school district.
Well, when I say diverse, I'm talking about in key areas.
That's what I was.
Businesses.
That's what I mean.
We don't have African American soul food businesses.
Yes.
We have some Ethiopian people want to come in. I mean, we have the people, but we now need to bring their cultures more out.
Absolutely.
We have room for them, and we need to now make sure that they're here.
Absolutely. I agree. So that's some of the things that you think is wrong with the system or the area or the community. What do you think is good about it? And you talked about,
I do think, one of the issues I think is real, that warehouser property that everybody's talking about, I really think that we need to hold somebody accountable for that. I think if they allow those, that trucking company to come in here, I think it's going to destroy what we've built. I mean, this is a safe place. You can walk around here. There's no traffic. I mean, it's nice. I think that will be a major issue. I think we would be better served in establishing more businesses.
Absolutely.
Because we need space for more businesses.
For sure.
We also need to have, some. There's no reason why we shouldn't be talking to places like Google, Facebook, for having satellites out here.
Yeah.
Some additional
like
schools
you said, that
and things.
warehouser area would be perfect.
It's set up for it.
And so one of the things that I and it's funny because when you get into the conversations, we come in late. I've been here forever, but I came into the conversation late, right? Mm-hmm. But I was like, man, Tacoma has a community college, Renton has a community college, Auburn has a community college, Des Moines has a community college. Like, we don't have a community college.
Federal Way has great potential for a lot of things.
And I was like, we're getting a UW satellite, but Tacoma has a UW satellite. Mm-hmm. Why we didn't get our own community college?
Those are things that we could talk about. Because one of the things that I'm definitely looking at about education is, and I'm just, talking to the people that are asking this, and these are the questions they're talking about, and education is one, doing some different type of education, having some other schools come by. I mean, it's real. That's on the table. People are asking and saying the same thing you're saying.
So how do you think you can help the 30th district with your position were you to win?
Well, one of the things that I think I can do, like I said, I think I've been doing this all my life. I was born for this. I'm a great community organizer. We see what needs to be done, and we go about it. Even when I co-wrote the law that changed history for children in foster care, we sat at the table and we got to work. We didn't meet to just be meeting. We weren't, this is a 5-year plan. People are dying. People are hungry. People are starving. People are homeless. Why should that be a 5-year plan? We need to get, get to the stuff and just get right down to it. That bill, it passed the very first time out within 90 days. We didn't do all that back and forth. So I know it's possible. It can be done. And we should be doing that. We shouldn't have to, we can't keep doing the same thing and expect a different result.
Absolutely.
We just can't. And that means the same thing, putting the same type of people in office, then you're going to get the same thing.
You get the same
so
thing.
you have to look for somebody new. And I know I'm new and I'm different. I mean, that much I do know.
Right.
But I get stuff done.
Absolutely.
So if you vote for me, that's what you're going to get.
You know what? That's a great thing because in my recent dive back into politics, one of the things that was kicked around to me like repeatedly was democracy is slow. And I was like, it worked fast for some people. Like, it's crazy how you guys will pass something like this if it's something that you guys want.
Come on now.
But then if it's something that you guys aren't interested in, all of a sudden now it works slow. And it's funny because you said 90 days as opposed to 5 years. When I went to the school board and I said, you know, I'm volunteering, I'm doing my thing, and we're talking about solving problems. And I kept going in and they kept saying, yeah, 5 years from now, we're going to have the data. I said, you have the data now. Yeah. Like, I've been to like 4 or 5 different meetings. You guys said the same exact thing. You guys are over data. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is time for some action.
Yeah, people want some change. They really want real change. They do.
But not just real time change and stop sending me to chase my tail. Like, we understand that we need to get involved in the process. I think more so is how not just get involved, how do we be effective in the process?
I like that. And that's what it is about. You know, most time we talk to some of the, and I'm really speaking to the young people because I know people say that the young people are our future. No, the young people are our now.
Yes.
And you should be at the table. You are the now.
Yes.
You have the answers. You know what to do. And you're not scared. And that's what I love about it. You're not scared.
Yes, I love that.
But I do feel that you have to come to the table. I mean, because the senior people are here for a reason. They have a wealth of knowledge and experience that they can, you know, share with you if you're willing to listen. But we've got to get back to you know, I've always hung out with older people. I love them. I love them. I love them. I like to just sit around. They got so much stuff they can share with you if you're willing to listen. But I do believe that they should come around to the table and join organizations and come in and see what's going on so then they can, you know, but voting is one of the things that is really clear what happened in Washington State, just as a good example. They kept, in Yakima, up on that part of Washington, they kept moving and redistricting. You have a lot of Hispanics and a lot of immigrants up there.
Like gerrymandering? Like moving the district or moving the people?
Yeah, no, if you're in a school district that's predominantly, you know, Hispanic or whatever they had going on, and they said, okay, we're going to go to the school board because we don't like what's happening with our children. We want to make sure we get more Hispanic teachers or whatever they wanted in their school, more books or whatever. And they would get ready to go and say, okay, you run for school board. You know, well, before you get yourself together, they change the districts on you. So then you couldn't do that. You couldn't get together. So
is that gerrymandering?
That might be a term. I mean, I just know that they gerrymandering, redistricting, whatever it did, they kept moving stuff, so you couldn't find out, you couldn't get to it.
That's basically what it is. So you take a Democratic and you add this over here, and it turns to Republican. So
you couldn't get anybody in the door. So they decided that what it took was they got an initiative, just like we're doing with 1644. You get your we had to get 300,000 votes, signatures, and that's what they did. And they said, we want y'all to stop moving the board. We want y'all to stop playing games. And they got together and they did it. And they got it on. And in March or April, they passed a brand new voters registration law. Now you can no longer move the districts like that. And now 16-year-olds can, when you get your driver's license, you can now register to vote when you get your driver's license. You can't vote till you're 18, but at least you're registered. And then along with that also, it used to be that if you missed the deadline to register, you know, to sign up to vote, if you missed that deadline, you couldn't vote at that term. Now it doesn't matter. You can sign up the same day and vote. So therefore, you know, people are slower delayed. A lot of things changed, but it took somebody to say enough is enough, and we want to do something about it, but do it the right way. And I know we do a lot of the marching, and that's good because some people march. It needs to be done. Other people will, you know, get behind the scenes and provide all the food for people going out. Everybody has their part, but please do not leave out the most important pieces: sitting at the table, doing it right. We were talking earlier that a lot of times people go, and this is just who I am, so this is who I'm gonna be. If you elect me, this is me. A lot of people will go and they have coffee with the mayor, or and they say, "Well, I was talking with the mayor," and I'm not talking about this mayor, just in general.
Yeah,
somebody in
general.
an office position that you think and know can make changes for you. You're having lunch with them. You're having everything is going well, but you're seeing no change because you haven't met the process right. There's a process that you have to do, and if you miss those steps, it's not going to get done. But just like they did in Yakima, they did every step that needed to be done, and they saw at the end of the day, they got those laws changed, and that's what we have to do. So it's a process, but it can and is being done.
Absolutely. It's crazy because that just makes me want to go over there and do an interview with them. And so like these type of victories need to be highlighted, and people need to be able to see it and understand what could be done. One of the things with the youth that we noticed was they listen to us, but more than they listen to us, they watch us. So if we're showing them what the process is, I noticed that when I told a couple of kids about about the city budget and how they're making certain decisions that may or may not be in their favor, and when I explained it to them, they were like, "Man, well, I want to be
come
a
to
part
the
of
meetings,
that.
they have a say so."
And so that's just explaining that part to them, which I feel, and it goes back to what you said about education. I feel like that should just be a core base of our education. Like, man, this is not, we're not talking about these people dictate your life. How are we so nonchalant about it? You know what I'm saying? And the only reason why I say that is because when I sit in on the meetings and I'm listening and I'm like, did you guys consult anybody else with this? Because that is dumb.
That's why we have to have people at the table.
Not to be like that, but bro, I just was like, you guys can't be talking to anybody else.
And that's the problem. We went to some of the homeless meetings here with the city council, and some of the committees that they have.
And I wasn't talking like this. I'm just saying in general, some of the meetings that I sat in, it just didn't seem like they were connected. The solution wasn't connected to who they were actually.
And that's true, and that's what happens majority of the time. So they sit around, and I'm not talking about anybody in particular, I'm just saying in general, nationwide, this is what people do. They sit at the table and they say, well, I think homeless people, or just like this, we were talking senior housing. I think senior housing is okay. They need to live together. We keep them in the same area, so we'll just build a bunch of high-rise apartments. They didn't have anybody from senior citizens sitting at the table say, I really don't want that. Can't y'all build a couple of duplexes, some fourplexes? I can still have a yard and whatever, do my gardening. Absolutely. But they didn't ask them at the table. So that's why you have to be at the table. So you can say, no.
I agree.
I'm running because somebody asked me to. And when the people ask me, I'm holding them accountable to keep me just who I am. I'm not a politician. I'm not interested in being one. I'm not interested in, playing games. That's not who I am.
Right.
So if you see me, you're going to get real. So I actively ask people when I'm talking to them, and they have that same question. I tell them I'm holding you accountable to keep me real.
Right.
I'm holding you accountable to make sure I don't go up there and get caught up in all of that stuff, because obviously it happens. People do it. I don't want to be that girl.
Yeah.
I'm running saying that I want to be a voice. Your vote is your voice.
Absolutely.
And I want to be speaking for you up there. So I'm going to be saying what you're asking me to say, not what I want or what I think. It's not about me. It's about you're sending me there and you want somebody to speak for you. So I have to know what you want me to say. And I will sit at the table. I'm not afraid and say this is what they want.
We're going to get into, the elephant in the room. What is it like running as a African-American woman in Washington State? What has that experience been like? I'm pretty sure it hasn't been, there's been ups and downs.
It's been really interesting. I really must say this is my first time running, but I've been watching, across the country what's happening in Atlanta with, what's her name? Sarah Abrams, is it? Abrams. I'm just watching what's happening, but here I'm getting lots of shock. Because even though I'm with the Democratic Party, they kind of want what they want.
Right.
And sometimes they don't listen to what the people want. I'm running because the people ask me. And that's why I'm running. And I think that they should give everybody a fair chance. Like I said, I'm not running against Claire. I'm running with Claire.
Okay.
Because the people asked me to run. She was running. They asked me to run. And that's what the primaries are for. So I think whoever should run, you run out there. Once the primary comes, then the people decide, then you go to the general. But I'm finding that I had a conversation there's about 5 or 6 African Americans running in Washington State for certain offices.
Under Democratic moniker?
Democrats that I know of.
Okay.
I don't know of any Republicans, but I'm sure that there may be some, I just don't know of any.
Yeah.
But the ones that I've met, they're running, and we were having a conversation, and we're having the same kind of conversation. Their new rules are applying to us. You know, I'm like, wow, we're not, just being honest, we're not getting the endorsements that we should be getting. They're not wanting to do dual endorsements on some of us. So, and that makes it a little hard to raise things because you have to have your money. So, and when you get the endorsements, the money doesn't come right away, but it comes later on. But just the fact that, you know, no one should be going and you going in for an endorsement here and then somebody else is running saying other things about you. One of the things that we're hearing, you know, is that, well, most of us that are running are going for House representative or senator. And they're like, none of you guys have been to city council. None of you went to school board. How dare you? How dare us?
Skip over.
I went where the people asked me to come.
Right.
And that's what we fit in. So I think, you know, we're adjusting to that kind of stuff. But I think at the end of the day, we're going to get where we're going to be where we're supposed to be. We're not going to give up. You know, more help is coming, more support is coming because people are seeing that. And I didn't know what was happening until I started talking to some other people and they were like, this is what's going on. So we're having conversations and saying, you know, we want change as well. And the real change, again, people can't keep saying we want diversity and inclusion. There are no African Americans in the Senate and have not been for a number of years. And most people don't know that we don't have any African Americans in the Senate. No African female has been in the Senate since Miss Rosa Franklin. And she was the first and only in Washington State history female, African American female in Washington State Senate. So you can't keep saying you want diversity. There's nobody else that's able. Maybe people that wanted to run, they were worn down. I don't know. But I'm not going anywhere. And I don't think the other ladies are either. We want our fair share. We want a seat at the table. One of the things that we keep hearing is everybody keeps talking about we want a seat at the table. Philip Randolph said that, an African-American man. He was a porter here in Washington State when he started a union for porters because of all the stuff that was going on. And he said, if you don't have a seat at the table, you're probably on the menu. And that's what I keep hearing now. This is a theme for this because people of color are getting in and I want them to get in. I'm very happy that my sisters are there. But because they're there does not mean that we don't have a place at the table. And we started all of this stuff and we should be at the table. We do not have any African-American females in Washington State in the Senate. And we only have one in the House of Representatives. That's just sad.
In democracy, and I use that loosely because it's a republic, not going all into that. But I find it like very interesting that you can have a republic which people are supposed to represent you, and you can have somebody that doesn't look like you represent you. Like, how is that even possible? Like that, how would any community get resources if it depended on somebody from outside of their community to bring those resources to them? I mean, I feel like everybody should have a representative that can go from their community and say, hey, this is what we need.
They can probably speak better for you, having had those experiences, shared, you know, customs and cultures and stuff like that. And I do agree, and that's why diversity and inclusion is real. And we need people that can speak for us. I do think anybody that has a heart, you know, can speak for people, but if you're real and all that, you know, but at the same time, if you have somebody that's fully capable, fully ready, that is from that area, that understands what's going on, some things have to be learned. Other things are just second nature because if you're in your community and that's what you know. So yeah, at any time, that's why we have, Democrats for Diversity and Inclusion. So whatever your community looks like, we want you to be a representative in your community.
And
we're willing to train you
your organization?
for that reason, yeah. Because you should have people that look like you.
And you started that when?
It's been about 2 years now.
Okay.
We brought Maxine Waters here last year.
Nice.
And she swore.
And so where are you guys based out of? When do you guys meet?
We're a statewide organization. We're young and we're doing big things. Like I said, we also started, repealing of I-200 as well as Initiative 1644. But we meet different places once a month. Seattle, Federal Way, Des Moines, and we're trying to build around the state. We've got now some people that, because it's a statewide organization, so we do need other people that will come to take, to join in.
What is the voting process? Because you mentioned the primary, so we're in the primary now. So
the primary is, the ballots should be coming out in the middle of July.
Okay.
Because, we mail ballots in now.
Right.
So they should be coming out in the middle of July. So you must have your ballot turned back in by August the 7th.
Okay. And that is to make
sure your vote is counted.
And that's for you to go to the next
level. Yes,
which is actually the actual election.
Yeah, because especially if you have more than one person running. Like if it was just me and Mark Lumasia running, then the primary would still be good, but we would still both, go to the next level. But because you always have to have a Republican and a Democrat running. Right. So since there's 2 Democrats, this would be the primary that would weed one of us out. Because we both cannot go to the general. Only one of us can go. And it should be me. I'm just saying, it should be me. Absolutely. But only if you vote before August the 7th.
From August the 7th. And you have to be in the 30th. Do you have to be in the 30th district to
vote for me?
That?
Yes.
So it has to. So nobody from outside
no, they can give me money and help me run. They can support me with finances.
Where can they send you money?
I have a Facebook, Tirzah Idahosa, political Facebook. I also have Tirzah Senate, TirzahForSenate.org. You can also, we have a donate button on there. And I would love to have your support. And finances is really a big thing because we still have some things we need to buy. You haven't seen any signs out there for me. I need money to buy signs, just being real. So, things like that.
So when you talk about endorsements, that's where those things become big. So just to wrap it up, did you have anything else that you wanted to tell the public before we get out of here?
I would just want to say thank you for inviting me here. And I would also encourage as many young people as you can to connect with Rugged Genius. This guy is doing some amazing stuff. I've seen the workshops that he's done. I've seen the forums. He has a heart for young men. And you guys got some good mentorship. So please, join.